Hello students, I am Dr. Gayatri, Assistant Professor at Smriti College of Pharmaceutical Education, Indore, from the Department of Pharmacology. In our previous class, we have seen the first two classes of drugs that are used in the treatment of acute gout. They are NSAIDs and colchicine. In our today's class, we will look at the third class of drugs that are used in treatment of acute gout as well as the drugs that are used in treatment of chronic gout. So coming to the third class of drugs used in the treatment of acute gout, they are corticosteroids. So these are given in intra-articular route as a soluble solution. So it is indicated in these corticosteroids are indicated only in refractory cases as well as those patients who are not tolerant to NSAIDs or colchicine. Coming to systemic steroids, they are rarely needed, but when they are highly effective. So when a person takes steroids in systemic route, they immediately show effect and they are highly effective, but they are reserved only for patients with renal failure, patients with history of peptic ulcer bleeding in whom NSAIDs are contraindicated, and for cases where the patients are not responding to NSAIDs. So the dose of these steroids is prednisolone 40 to 60 mg may be given once daily, followed by tapering doses over few weeks. So coming to chronic gout. So what happens in chronic gout? So in acute gout we see there is a sudden attack of gout with gouty symptoms. Whereas in chronic gout, the pain and stiffness persist even between the attacks. And then in such conditions, the gout has become chronic. So other features of chronic gout are hyperuricemia and then tophi. Tophi are nothing but hardened urate crystals underneath the skin and urate stones in the kidney. So these are the features of chronic gout. So when these are observed in a patient, the patient is diagnosed to have chronic gout. So in majority of the patients, this hyperuricemia occurs either due to reduced excretion or because of increased synthesis. So chronic gouty arthritis may cause progressive disability and permanent disorders, like we have seen in our previous class, where a patient might develop hardened gouty structures or tophi underneath the skin, which might cause a permanent disability or deformity. Coming to drugs used in the treatment of chronic gout. So because the cause of chronic gout is either increased secretion or increased production or reduced excretion of uric acid. So the drugs used to treat chronic gout should target either the excretion or the production of uric acid. So the drugs that are used to increase the excretion of uric acid are called uricosuric drugs. So this class of drugs include the first category of drugs that come under this class of drugs is probenecid. So probenecid, it has been used for decades in treatment of gout and it is neither analgesic nor anti-inflammatory. So the mechanism of action by which probenecid acts is it reduces or it inhibits the reabsorption of urate. So when reabsorption is inhibited, excretion is increased. So probenecid basically increases the excretion of urate, and then therefore when this is excretion is increased, serum uric acid levels are decreased. So along with this, penicillin, this drug also shows a significant action on penicillin. So penicillin is easily secreted and then it is excreted. But then when a patient is taking probenecid, it inhibits the excretion of penicillin, therefore increases its serum level. So when coming to uric acid, it increases its excretion. When coming to penicillin, it inhibits its excretion. Therefore, serum levels of this drug are increased. So this drug shows prolonged action in patients who are taking probenecid. So coming to interactions, it along with penicillins, it also inhibits the urinary excretion of cephalosporin, sulfonamides, methotrexate and indomethacin. And it also inhibits the biliary excretion of rifampicin, pyrazinamide and ethambutol may interfere with uricosuric action of probenecid. Along with that, salicylates block its action. So coming to pharmacokinetics, it is completely absorbed orally, 90% bound to plasma proteins, and it is partially conjugated in liver and excreted by kidneys. And its plasma T-half is 6 to 8 hours. Coming to the adverse effects of probenecid, it is generally well tolerated, but one significant adverse effect of probenecid is dyspepsia. So it is seen in up to 25% of the cases in patients with high doses. So it should be used cautiously in patients with peptic ulcer disease. Rashes and other hypersensitivity phenomena are rarely seen with this drug. And one major adverse effect is toxic doses of this drug causes convulsions and respiratory failure. So the examples of this drug are Belamid and Bensid 0.5 grams tablet. Coming to the next class of drugs that are used in the treatment of chronic gout, they are sulfapyrazones. So what do these drugs do? They are related to phenylbutazones, and then they are pyrrolizone derivatives. So they show uricosuric action. So what they do? They increase the excretion of uric acid, but they also neither show analgesic action nor show anti-inflammatory action. So this drug also inhibits the tubular reabsorption of uric acid, thereby increasing its excretion and therefore reducing its serum levels. So at smaller doses, there is a slight risk with this drug as well as probenecid. Both probenecid and sulfapyrazone, they cause decreased urate excretion at smaller doses. So they should be given in a large dose. And then it has gone into disuse because of more gastric irritation and other side effects. So this drug is no more used in the treatment of gout, and because it has serious side effects including severe gastric irritation. And this drug also inhibits the platelet aggregation. Coming to the next class of drugs, that is uric acid synthesis inhibitors. So the previous class, the drugs are increasing its excretion. So the next class of drugs inhibit its synthesis. So these drugs, the first class of drugs in this category are allopurinol. So allopurinol is a hypoxanthine analog. Coming to its mechanism of action, it is a substrate as well as inhibitor of xanthine oxidase, an enzyme involved in uric acid synthesis. While studying about the cycle of uric acid synthesis, we have seen the role that xanthine oxidase plays. So this allopurinol, it inhibits xanthine oxidase. So allopurinol, it also produces alloxanthine as a metabolite. So allopurinol is short acting. Its T-half is only 2 hours, while it's and also it is a competitive inhibitor of xanthine oxidase. While coming to alloxanthine, that is it is a major metabolite of allopurinol. It is long acting and it is a non-competitive inhibitor. So this non-competitive inhibitor, which is primarily responsible for uric acid synthesis inhibition in vivo. So at higher concentrations, allopurinol also becomes, instead of competitive inhibitor, this also becomes a non-competitive inhibitor. So coming to pharmacokinetics, it is about 80% of the drug which is administered orally is completely absorbed, and it is not bound to plasma proteins. It is metabolized majorly to alloxanthine, and then during chronic medication, it inhibits its own metabolism, and about 1/3 is excreted unchanged and the rest as alloxanthine. So coming to interactions, it inhibits the degradation of 6-mercaptopurine and azathioprine. Therefore, their doses should be reduced to 1/3. So, since the degradation is reduced, these drugs stay for longer time in the blood and the serum. So, their dose should be reduced to 1/3. And when probenecid is given along with allopurinol, it shows a complex interaction. While probenecid shortens the T-half of alloxanthine, allopurinol prolongs the T-half of probenecid. So, this probenecid, it shortens T-half of alloxanthine, which is a metabolite of allopurinol, and then allopurinol increases the T-half of probenecid. So, this is a this kind of complex interaction is seen when these two drugs are given together. And then coming to the other drugs, that is warfarin and theophylline, it potentiates their action by inhibiting their metabolism. And a higher incidence of skin rashes have been reported when ampicillin is given to the patients taking allopurinol. Coming to the adverse effects, the adverse effects with this drug are comparatively uncommon, and hypersensitivity reaction consisting of rashes, fever, malaise and muscle pain is most frequent, and it subsides on stopping the drug. And then renal impairment increases the incidence of rashes and other reactions to allopurinol. So, if a patient is already having renal impairment, in such patients the possibility of seeing this adverse effect is high. And then Stevens-Johnson syndrome is rare, but it is a serious risk. So, coming to the precautions and contraindications, liberal fluid intake is advocated while patient is taking allopurinol, and then it is contraindicated in patients who are already having hypersensitivity and in patients who are pregnant or lactating. And it should be cautiously used in elderly, children and patients with kidney or liver disease. Coming to uses, it is used in the treatment of chronic gout. It is the first choice of drug in the treatment of chronic gout, and it can be used in both overproducers or under excretors. That is, it can be used in patients in whom production of uric acid is high, and also it can be used in patients with reduced excretion of uric acid. Particularly, it can be used in patients who are having severe gout and with tophi or nephropathy. And uricosurics are infrequently used in India. So, these drugs are more used than uricosuric drugs. So, the other use is secondary hyperuricemia. We have seen the causes of secondary hyperuricemia. There are cancer, chemotherapy, etc. And to potentiate 6-mercaptopurine or azathioprine, as we have seen in the interactions, it interacts with these drugs and it inhibits their excretion. So, because in order to potentiate their action, this drug can be used along with 6-mercaptopurine and azathioprine. Coming to dose, it is started at 100 mg once daily, and it is gradually increased to 300 mg daily up to a maximum dose of 600 mg. So, it starts with 100 mg and gradually increases to 300, but maximum dose is 600 mg. And cautions that are there are certain cautions while taking these drugs. It is allopurinol as well as uricosurics should not be started during an acute attack of gout, because during the initial 1 to 2 months of the treatment with these drugs, attack of acute gout are more common, probably due to fluctuating urate levels. So, because of this, which favors intermittent solubilization and recrystallization in joints. Therefore, cover with NSAIDs or colchicine should be provided. So, the caution which is there is, these drugs, neither uricosurics nor allopurinol, should not be given while the patient is experiencing an acute attack, because these drugs when these drugs are this therapy with these drugs is started during the first 1 to 2 months, there is an increased chance of acute attacks. So, because the plasma urate levels are fluctuating, so these drugs are still, they take some time to actually produce a consistent effect. So till that time, the plasma urate levels are fluctuating, which increases the chance of acute attacks. So the plasma levels, because they are fluctuating, the intermittent solubilization and recrystallization in the joints can also occur, which results in acute attacks. So because of that reason, these two drugs should not be given while the patient is experiencing an acute gout attack. So coming to the next drug, that is febuxostat. So this drug is a recently introduced non-purine xanthine oxidase inhibitor. So it is equally or more effective than allopurinol in lowering the blood uric acid levels in patients with hyperuricemia and gout. So coming to pharmacokinetics, it is rapidly absorbed orally and highly plasma protein bound, and it is oxidized as well as glucuronide conjugated in liver and excreted by kidneys. And the plasma T-half of this drug is approximately 6 hours. Coming to adverse effects, the most important adverse effect of febuxostat is liver damage. So liver function needs to be monitored when a patient is on febuxostat therapy. Diarrhea, nausea and headache are also common side effects. Coming to interactions, by inhibiting xanthine oxidase, it has a potential to interact with 6-mercaptopurine, azathioprine and theophylline. Therefore, they should not be given to patient receiving these drugs. And it is not this particular drug is not indicated in hyperuricemia occurring due to cancer, that is malignancy. Coming to dose, it is given in a dose of 40 to 80 mg once daily. So the last class of drugs in this category is rasburicase. So this drug is a recombinant xanthine oxidase enzyme, and this drug oxidizes uric acid to allantoin. So we have seen that uric acid, the solubility of uric acid is less when the pH, especially when the pH is low. So this drug converts uric acid into allantoin, and this allantoin is more soluble and easily excreted. So but this drug is indicated only for preventing chemotherapy induced hyperuricemia when massive lysis of leukemic or solid tumor mass is induced by cytotoxic drugs in children. So this drug is specifically intended for treatment of chemotherapy induced hyperuricemia in children who are receiving cytotoxic drugs. So this cytotoxic drugs result in massive lysis, that is breakdown of leukemic or tumor cells. So which results in production of increased uric acid levels. Therefore, this drug is spared only for use in such cases. So this is about gout and the drugs used in treatment of gout. So hope you all understood. Thank you.